What up YouTubers, it's Adventure Link here. Today I'm going to show you how to replace your transmission temperature sensor on your Saturn S-series. A little bit of background on this sensor is that a Saturn fans forums member known as King Rex has found whenever you replace this sensor, most of the shifting problems tend to go away, if not eliminated all of them. In addition, you experience cleaner shifting, crisper shifting, more precise shifting, and an overall smoother and better transmission experience in general. He always does this on any auto trans he receives, and that's what he's found. Just so you know, you will need a 13mm deep well socket, a 10mm socket. Both of these are 1/4" drive. In addition, if you have the stock air filter box, you will also need a set of vice grips to remove and replace the little hose clamp that goes onto the air box. For whatever it's worth, I always recommend to do this in addition to a transmission fluid and filter exchange before attempting any surgery on the transmission, such as the valve body and the input-output shaft nuts. Just so you know, this particular sensor is constructed, wired, and fails pretty much the same way as your engine coolant temperature sensor does. Come on, let's go outside and I'll show you how to replace this thing. Alrighty. So we got the vehicle up in the air. That's the first thing you need to do. Get it up in the air using jack stands, lamps, a drive-on lift, or a traditional forearm lift. Doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as make sure it's nice and safe. Remember, safety is key. As we come back over here and look, you notice there's normally an air box there. Now, as all y'all know, I do have a cone filter there, but like I said before, it's a 10mm bolt that gets it out. As you can see, there are 3 of them. One here, one over here, and one down there, which you can't see because of the shade, but there's one down there. It should be right there where my finger is, if you can see it. And that's it for the bolts. Now, the sensor itself, if I remember correctly, is this little thing down here where my finger is. Like I said, this is built, wired, and fails pretty much the same way as the ECTS is. So if you know how to replace the ECTS or your IAT, that's what it looks like, and that's where you know to be. Make sure you carefully disconnect this sensor wire. You don't want to break it. You don't want to break the sensor. And you don't want to break this little connector. Alright, that's off. As you can see, this is your IAT down here. Make sure this is connected when you're finished with the project. Alright, so as you can see, I've got a bucket here to catch any flowage that comes out. As you all know, when you do an ECTS, there's usually a little bit of flowage that comes out. I'm expecting the same thing for our transmission temp sensor project. You can't see the bucket from up here, but I've got it properly angled. This is a little bit of a pain to get to, so you may want to align your deep well socket onto the sensor first, then put your ratchet on there, then have at you. Just so you know, this is what the new sensor should look like, all nice and brass. It's all nice and shiny. So, we're going to undo this sensor now. Well, I didn't get any flowage, thank goodness. But take a look at this. Oh. One of those plastic rising temp sensors that usually love to fail. As you can see, it's got a little bit of transmission fluid on it. Not much. Oh, I'm starting to get a little bit of flowage. So, what you want to do is immediately put your new sensor on. Make sure you get it on there nice and good to block any flowage. And you're all done. Just make sure you tighten that sensor back up, reconnect everything, and especially reconnect your air intake sensor. And that's it. You have now replaced your transmission temp sensor on a Saturn S-series. Oh, and before I forget, to make sure everything gets reset, disconnect this negative battery terminal here. Make sure you leave it disconnected for at least a minute. Everything should relearn.